Hello, hello, and welcome to the latest episode of Borderline Podcast Disorder. And how are you? I mean, I know you can't reply to this um, since you're listening to a recording, but I hope you're well. I hope you're good. I hope you had a nice week. I had a very stressful week myself. Um, went through some stuff with my previous day job. Um, but the good news are that things are getting better. Things are getting better, and I've managed to make a lot of progress on the battles that I feel like I have to be very vague when I speak about it. I have no choice. It's unfortunately, I think for legal reasons. But I'm much better. That's the more important thing. You know, I'm looking forward to the week ahead. I had to do a lot of cope ahead this past week because of the events throughout the week. I didn't gig as much because I had to prepare for a um, legal meeting for Friday. So yeah, I was kind of like taking the most of the time off that I had from university. I used to just be at home and just go through papers and just go through things and be able to learn about my case and not learn because obviously I've lived my situation. It's more to just like learn and understand some of the legal terms and things that are happening now. But on the bright side, again, the week is over, and um, th- I'm looking forward to this, whatever is happening next. Got some very good things going. I've got my my week now. It's going to be, I don't want to say busy, but I've got quite a few gigs on to almost make up for the ones I didn't do last week. And oh no, actually, yeah, I did a gig on Wednesday. I did a gig at a night of a friend of mine, and it was quite nice. It was good. I really enjoyed it. But yeah, this week I'm making up for all the other nights that I stayed at home, and I'm excited, and I feel like I might consider doing those breaks whenever things get too much, because I feel like at many points in the future I used to just think that I can just power through everything all the time, and I almost thought that, oh, I need all as many distractions as possible around me so that I don't perhaps think about everything that I don't like that's happening around me, and that was quite detrimental. I've been, struggling a lot as a result of this, with burnout and things as such. While yeah, this time I decided to take a different approach. I wish I could take all the credit for it. It had a lot to do with my therapist, who was very helpful in these situations as well. Now, yeah, I think that's it. That's pretty much it in regards to everything that's happened this week. Sarma and Pickle are recovering really well from their uh, spaying surgery. I don't know what you call it, or like what's the right way of calling it. But yeah, they are recovering very well. We removed their bodysuits. They had those like little cute bodysuits on to make sure they don't lick their wounds. Those are off now. Took them to the vet last at the beginning of the week, and the vet was like, "Yeah, it seems like they're okay. They're healing well," and that's what matters, right? And yeah, they are just being a joy to be around as usual, and yeah, just feel good. Now, this week's episode, it's going to be for everyone listening. I feel like there might be a necessity to warn you in regards to like trigger warning triggers. Yeah, warn you. So like, yeah, trigger warning. We talk about. I talked with Nobby, and we or like she shared her story, and it was a lot about her past abusive the relationship that she had in the past, which was was the relation no the with an abuser. And anyway, yeah, it was a heavy episode, a very very heavy episode. I think it was a good one. It was um, interesting to listen, and yeah, it was. I won't say not necessarily mind blowing. Actually, I want to say more like eye opening. To hear someone who's actually, which you will discover now. That's she's got a lot on her plate at the moment on a personal level, um, due to like her living situation, everything, and that was quite a lot. And then to get to delve into, delve, is that the right word, to get to basically learn more about things that have happened to her in the past, and how she's dealing with this, and how she's just strong. And you're kind of like, wow, you think that, oh, I've been going through a lot, and I've got a lot of things happen to me, which is something that I think about many times. And I often wonder, how is it that I can, and I still like put up with everything that the life throws at me. And then you listen to Nobi, and you're like, okay, fine. Well, you know what? I don't know if it's like in a perverse way, but like, okay, fine. I'm not alone. Like, again, other people are going through things that seem wild and ridiculous to think, because I think even the way I've explained, and I go back again to my own situation. Sometimes when I talk to with people about my past, and I share things about me with them, I'd think that and I used to be, I was a huge liar as a kid, and in like my teenage years, and young as a young adult, because I was so desperate for people to like me. But anyway, that's a different story. Now, anyway, I was a big liar, and to now see that, to now actually like tell the truth, and like to actually be able to like tell people things that have happened to me. It almost feels like, if I didn't know that I've lived those things, I wouldn't probably be able to, like, I would question what the other person is saying. Or like, I'd be like, is this really? No way, And that's how we kind of like, felt here as well, where you're just like, whoa, it's, yeah, eye opening. It's really, it was a good episode. It was a very good episode. We are probably going to get a second part, sooner than I normally do, because I know that you've seen like the um, recordings with Nancy and stuff like this, that came like a year later when we had her again. Um, and the exciting news are that actually some of the people that I've recorded with in the past year will return. When I'm working out on some dates with some of the like most popular, episodes, they are back. And then also, if you want someone in particular, and you want to make sure that they are coming back, um, yeah, message me, or email me, or even just leave it on the review, but make sure with a 5-star next to it. But yeah, just leave it there, and then I'll try to make it happen. Anyway, that's excuse me, that's enough from me. And yeah, enjoy the episode with Nobby, and yeah, I'll catch you later. Yes, Nobby, how's it going? You okay?
Yes. Yeah. Just about.
Just about, okay.
I don't know, because I have, like everybody else, like ups and downs, and every day it's like you have to keep telling yourself that you're okay, which is not, I'm not that bad, Yes.
But then because we're recording at the end of January, what's it been like for you to start? Like, what was it? Have you had like a good start of 2025, or better than expected, worse than expected?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you know, I live in Penn. Have you heard about it?
N10, as in like, I know it's a part like North London.
We had no gas for I had no gas for 10 days, right?
No way.
So that was 10 days. This month, I had about a week of no heating, no hot water because my boiler broke down. Has it been a good year? I don't know. I mean, I could be very philosophical about it. Well, the universe has to tell me something. That's what I'm thinking. It's been interesting. I mean, I don't think I've suffered as much because I was experienced for a start. I had just 7-day experience, like prep work back in December.
Mm-hmm.
I knew what to do. I had a ceramic heater I borrowed from a friend. That was fantastic. And then I learned to cook with tea lights. That kind of surprised Cadent engineers. They were looking at my candles, on the cooker. Do you do this? And I said, yes. Then I learned to make toast. I could make porridge. It took about half an hour, 40 minutes. It was like proper slow living. What was it called? Like a slow life movement. It was really like that. And what else did I do? I mean, I was pretty, creative, and I was just very proud of myself because I thought, I'll not give in. So it's been very interesting. I met a Beeb reporter outside the community centre while I was queuing up for like electric blankets. I didn't get because I realised I wasn't allowed to get, stuff like that because I am working. Because I looked around and I thought, this is not right. Then I was talking to someone who was queuing at the same time, and he was an Irish man, and he said he was a researcher, and we were like just, happily chatting to this Beeb reporter. So what's it been like? Then I have to share this experience of using tea lights, So yeah, I made porridge with tea lights.
How? This is...
You can, because you know how lots of restaurants, like Indian restaurants, they use tea lights to keep food warm. If you can keep it warm, you can cook. That's the idea. So, you can. So I used this little, what do you call it, that grid from the gas, what do you call it, oven, because I haven't seen the oven for a while. So then I put it over the cooker, then put a tin foil over it, and then I put my pan. I boiled hot water. I mean, I boiled water, I used boiling hot water to start with so that the pan was warm, like Einstein. And I knew that the metal kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, keeps things warm, because it retains heat. So I thought I'd heat up hot water. Then I added some soy milk and then cooked porridge for about half an hour to 14 minutes. But you can do it. That was my porridge. Then I don't know, into about 4 days, and I realized that I couldn't go on. So I went to Halfords. Can I mention any names?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah, you can do anything. You can swear if you want to.
For gas cooker for camping. So that's what I got. I mean, I shared this on Nextdoor, and some man, he had to say, you shouldn't use that indoors, like, okay, well, is it because I'm going to kill myself, by getting so much carbon monoxide? Did I not know that? I have my windows open, but anyway, that was a man telling me what to do. So I carried on cooking with my gas cooker for camping. My rice was perfect. I could do a whole lot of things. I made rice. Then, I got free soup from a local cafe, free curry and rice from an Indian restaurant. I felt like I learned so much. I'm more sympathetic and empathetic, than ever before, because I know what it's like elsewhere when people don't have gas. And some people lost their electricity. Thank goodness we didn't. But, some people didn't have gas, electricity. Because do you remember the weekend when we had such a cold spell, like the temperature dropped to below zero,
No, I was actually in Romania.
Oh, was it warmer? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, which is crazy to think, but it was actually
It's really,
warmer.
people talk like that. I was in Romania. I didn't care, That's good. I'm very sorry, but I don't know whether I should be sharing. Is it broadcast to the whole world, this thing?
Yeah.
Because maybe I'll just say it. So I have a friend. I live in Muswell Hill. I mean, it's got like all sorts of people, but this lady is not, she doesn't live in this particular part. So she told me about, oh God, that's really awful. I'm very sorry for you, because I was thinking, we pay our utility bills are over £8,000. And I was going to say to my husband, maybe we should be away for 3 months on a cruise. Okay. That's a bit of like a Marie Antoinette, right? And I shouldn't say this. I could never say this to her. So I hope she's not going to be listening, because, there are lots of people like that in this area. Oh my God, it's so awful. Why don't you go away on a cruise trip in the Mediterranean or somewhere else, the Seychelles? Well, I mean, I might have done, I might have done, but unfortunately, that wasn't my option. So I stayed in and then used my gas cooker and tea lice to cook. That was brilliant. So,
and that was the beginning.
Comedy gold. I have to just write something because that was really funny, So it was funny. I mean, I don't think I was affected as much, really, because I'm okay. I mean, I was warm enough with ceramic heater because my room is so small. So it heats up the room really well. So now I use this. I was carrying this around, when I went to the bath, because I was washing myself in the bathroom with like water boiled in the kettle. So
oh my God.
I know. But the thing is, I bought this teapot, that stainless teapot that retains heat, thermal thing. So I'd fill up the water, the thing with boiling hot water. So it keeps warm for 24 hours. So I'd keep it in the bathroom to wash my hands. So I washed myself for about 4 days, in that condition. But I'd use my ceramic heater to heat up the room so it wasn't that cold.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's just a crazy thing.
Yeah, and I mean.
So that was like a simple question. How have you been? That's like, I've got so much to say. I mean, my life's been like this. I mean, like so many shit things happen, and then I can talk about it. That might be why I started doing comedy. But
the thing is, sorry, go on.
Go on. Yeah, it's okay.
No, I was going to say that the thing is, because realistically, we haven't, I think besides of swapping some like messages here and there, we haven't spoken, because I haven't seen you in over a year. I don't think, I think I was, because I think I was also living in I think I was living near like Islington the last time we met doing a gig together. But then, I haven't seen you since then. So
like very obscure gigs, like I just don't want to see audiences now at the moment,
No way.
I have some audiences, but I'm just experimenting because I don't want to talk about things that I did up in Edinburgh or in Camden, because it was all about, my CPTSD. And I mean, that's self-diagnosed as well, because, if you keep talking about the same stuff, then you're just like giving yourself this mantra. Okay, you're not very well. So I did this meditation. I don't know, we're jumping already.
When did you do the meditation thing?
Pardon?
When did you do the meditation retreat?
May last year.
Last year. How long for?
Only for a couple of days. Then I did this online course to do before that. So that lasted about 3 months. So I still meditate up to about 2 hours a day. I don't know where I find the time. I don't have time. That's why, because I do about an hour in the morning, about half an hour to an hour. I know it's crazy, right? But if I tell you all the other things that I do, you just think, oh, why don't you kill yourself? You will, because I don't do anything. I'm like, I might as well be a hermit or like a nun, That's how I live, because I don't eat meat. Did I tell you I'm a veggie? I
Well,
don't
have
drink.
you always been, or is it like a new thing?
Well, not since I was born. I was drinking my mother's milk, so I was not.
No, yeah, no, but I meant as in like, is it something that you've done in the last couple of years, or is it something that you've done since you were very young? Or
It's been for a while. Yeah.
Right, okay.
Been more than half my life, much more than half my life.
But no, because obviously we were talking about how, because you were saying how you do this, which I think it's incredible. 2 hours meditation, because I used to never be able to meditate at all. Now I do maybe like, I want to say like 10-15 minutes here and there, and I'm proud of myself for getting to 15 minutes.
That's I can't, do that. That's not long enough for me. So, I mean, it's not like the kind of meditation that I do guided meditations. So I think they're a bit like self-hypnosis type of stuff.
But how did you get into it?
So it was on Boxing Day 23. I was just looking around for things. I was just thinking like my life is shit, because I just had COVID, and then I realized that I had to change things, like everyone else, we all always think that we have to change. I don't know. Maybe you don't, or maybe
I very much.
right. So on Boxing Day, I was looking around and I found this retreat and I thought, I wonder if there's a spot, So I just went on this website. It's a very popular thing to do. So I don't want to mention this guru because it's value laden, I don't really follow everything that he talks about, but I just like his meditations because they're easy. I mean, partly because they're westernized,
Okay.
Much harder, where they just sugar coated and it just makes you feel so good. Then I've got this sort of angelic stuff that I did this morning. It's like, it's almost like Christmas carol thing, Bach's Ave, the Maria, what was it called? Yeah, it's really nice that I'm just doing. So I don't know whether I'm meditating, but I try not to just get my brain just overloaded because it's just so much shit in this. I need to just, it's almost like one of those, PC cleaning stuff, you could just get rid of shit. It's not doing that good a job, but it is calming it down because I didn't panic after that boiler thing. I mean, it was just, last year when the boiler broke down, I mean, I'm still dealing with this crap, but you don't want to know. I mean, it's just another, one of the. Okay, so my boiler broke down partly because this company, I thought it was like an insurance company, like British Gas does,
Right.
Gas, Home Safe or whatever. When your boiler breaks down, they come and fix it for you. So I went to this cheaper company.
Yeah. I think actually my boiler is from that company.
Okay, right. So it's not bad. It wasn't bad, but it had loads of issues. So it had a new PC board. So I thought I'd just go for a cheaper company to just look after it until I had to replace it. Then this company really let me down. I'll name the name because people have to know. It's called Your Repair. They really let me down. They really let me down. Your Repair. Don't go to them. Okay. So, anyway, so this chap came on a Saturday, not just on a Saturday, the Saturday before Christmas, right? So it was on the 21st, and he looked at things and he said, well, there was one thing wrong, and another thing is more. There were two things wrong. Then one of them was really serious, which was like the cover, the boiler cover, and that was missing the foam. Anyway, I mean, it's too long. I mean, I think it's going to be too long. I can't explain because it's too long. This foam was missing, but that must have been identified 5 months prior to that incident because they sent an engineer to service my boiler. He didn't say anything. And I found this like massive amount of black sooty material on the floor. And then I thought, oh, what could it be? I should have really done something. But I was, this chap was friendly and we were chatting and everything. And then, it must be from like the flu. So I just got rid of it. Didn't think about it. And I realized that was like not disintegrated foam from the cover, just on the floor.
God.
Well, I couldn't prove that. I couldn't say that that was there. I saw it. I don't think I have dementia yet, It was there. But this man didn't alert me to that. In December, so that was back in May, I could have done everything. I had to wait until December when it was cold to have this problem. And this chap was telling me that he could change the cover, but this insurance or your repair wouldn't cover it. What do you want to do type thing? I wanted it to be repaired, but I was talking to your repair people and they said they weren't going to cover anything and they were going to call Valent. And they got an engineer to have a look. And then he gave me this final verdict. Oh, it's beyond repair. And that was on Christmas Eve. That was so jolly. The best Christmas present that I'd ever been given. What a lovely thing. Then I just lived in this Arctic condition for 4 days over Christmas. That was so nice.
God.
So, I don't know. I mean, it might have been a karma. That wasn't really the first time. But, I've got so many stories like this to tell. So there must be something wrong. But anyway, so going back to this meditation thing, so I found this thing that I went to this retreat in Switzerland and I know.
Wow.
I know it was wow. I didn't know, how I thought that I could afford it, but I just went. The event itself was very American and I wasn't really too keen, but I like the meditation, so I carry on. So that really got me thinking because it's almost like some sort of a cognitive behavioral therapy.
Right.
With meditations. So that seems to work for people with, I think CP, it's quite good, but you have to be really constantly aware. So that's around when I stopped having too many gigs because I just keep talking about the same old stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about this gas thing, I'm still dealing with your repair. I phoned up their customer support department and got this lady from South Wales, a lovely sounding, you know what they sound like.
I have an idea.
That it's on purpose. I know it, because they're just sort of like a really nice and sort of very sweet and everything. But she was like, no, there's nothing we can do, I'm afraid. I just... So I'm still, I don't have a contract with them because I don't have the boiler. I had to put a new one in.
Wow.
Because they couldn't repair it. The Valent engineer came to give me this final verdict and he did the most thorough service, So anyway, these things happen and I have to deal with these things, but I have to just let go. That's a hard thing to do. All these things happen. How can I actually deal with all these problems? I'm not doing anything. They're just throwing all this shit at me the whole time. Yeah. Another thing. But, it's just, I don't know, so last September, I was trying to so my work is very hard, because I work for myself. I teach languages and I'm trying to be organized, but it's very hard for me. So back in September, I was really stressed out. And one morning I got up and I was just not feeling well. And then I tripped over a pair of shoes that I left lying around, which you should never do. And then I fell head first onto the fucking wooden floor and
God.
floor. That was so awful. I mean, that's just another thing that I could talk about. It's so awful. I don't know why, but I worked because I had something, so many things booked that day. Then by the afternoon, I had a black eye and I thought, oh, that's not good. And I still went to sleep. I'm glad that I'm still here, all intact, because I could be dead. I've read so many stories about all these people hitting their heads and dying.
Wow. Yeah.
I'm so lucky. So the next day I got an Uber and went to Whittington, a local place, to A&E. And it was really horrible. I was really scared. I was there for about 10 hours, 8 hours? Anyway, luckily it was on Tuesday. It wasn't as busy, but it didn't look very good. And they had to scan me twice. But these radiologists, they're not sympathetic. They're just matter of fact. Every time I do something, I was really worried about my brain because, I need this to be working, right?
Which is fair, yeah.
But not for anything. I mean, doing anything, you can't, this is just so important that I realized for the first time, or maybe the second time, I had lots of injuries. I can talk about, again. But so I was really worried. And these radiologists, every time I had a scan, they said, all the best. And I was thinking like, what do you mean by all the best? What do you mean? They would tell you all the best? I mean, what do you mean? What do you know that I don't know? And that's what I was thinking. But, when I was sitting there with all these people, someone who escaped, oh God, he just discharged himself, like all the nurses were talking. Because it's not a normal place, is it, A&E? Because I realized it's almost like sort of a comedy club. They have like something wrong with, I shouldn't say this.
No, which is, again, fair observation.
So that was last September. I mean, I don't know. So that's why I think I don't really need to talk about why I do comedy, because I don't have to do anything. But these things kind of like just
happen
thrown at me. I must talk about it. But there is something else. But, I don't know. All my life it's been like this. There are just always some fucking shit stories to tell. I have to share, I guess.
And then, so what was the first thing what is it the thing that made you want to start comedy then? From all these, because you said there are so many stories of so many like terrible or like shit things that have happened. But then, where was when did you decide that okay, that's it, I'm gonna try doing stand up?
It's not like I was kind of planning, like lots of people. I've always, I So my marriage to this, I don't know, it's sort of cliched, but it's narcissistic, controlling narcissistic man. Ended. Then that really changed me. I talked about it in Edinburgh. So, I mean, not that many people came to see it. So I don't think everybody knows, but that really changed me. I was basically like this before I got married. After that, I was like, I just didn't know what I liked. I just lost myself. I died, because I let him control me because it's a long story. It's another one of those long stories, and it's, I think it's going to be hard for you to edit this thing because there are just too many.
I'm not editing it anyway, so you can say anything you want or whatever you feel like. It's okay.
Yeah. So I shouldn't have married him anyway. So that's the, there was something wrong with him, but I still went ahead. And, I mean, he knew how to sort of like hook me and everything. He was using this sort of like tactics. Like I'm just such a poor person, and I don't know. Anyway, so he had clinical depression, and then he went completely crazy. And I realized that he was an alcoholic, although he denied. But just about every alcoholic person denies that they are. So, I mean, he was very ill, but he was drinking even after he'd been at a rehab, and he was on an antidepressant, and he was drinking. Then he went completely crazy, and I was trying to work still, but it was so hard. I fell ill, and I had something wrong with my discs in the neck, and my arms couldn't function.
No way.
Yeah, I don't know. Stress can do a lot of things. I was, surprisingly working on the trading floor and was doing okay. I mean, if I hadn't met him, I wouldn't be, I'd be like in the Caribbean now, But that didn't happen. So, I that really traumatized me. A lot more happened, but I don't really wish to talk about it because he did just. I don't know how I survived that period because he was more crazy then than ever. Since then, I still sort of stayed with him. That was so. So I tried to forget what happened because he became. Well, I left him for about 6 months, and he just started bombarding me with all the things like, "Oh, I'm dry," I'm a different person. He even joined some like a reputable charity organization and did very well, and he looked like he was a changed person. Like I was too naive. People don't change in 6 months, especially alcoholic, narcissistic people. So. But I accepted that he said, "Oh, I'll look after you," because I wasn't very well. So that was the beginning. Because when someone says, "Oh, I'll look after you," you shouldn't just reach out, for that. You should have said no. But I just, "Oh, that's really good of you." Then I just sort of let him look after me. But he started drinking again, and he started sort of being abusive because I tried to, for some reason, wanted to be, not for some reason, I wanted to be an academic because my father was an academic. So I decided to get a job at a higher education institution. So I had to do all the degrees, loads of degrees. So my ex didn't like that. So he was trying to sabotage all the stuff and everything like that. But anyway, so in that time, I was married to him for over 10 years. In that time, I was completely crazy because he would always point a finger at me. He sent me to a psychiatrist when I was the crazy one, just like in Jane Eyre, that woman in the attic. She was the crazy one, but who was the crazy one? Not her husband. So, that was happening. I just didn't know what was going on towards the end. So as I started doing my master's degree before I did my PhD, so that was my second master's degree, he just became even more abusive. He'd be just so, short-tempered. I mean, he wasn't doing anything around the house when I still had to do a lot of work because I got some studentship, like funding to do a master's degree and a PhD. So I was paid to do all the stuff. So I had to do the work, but I still had to do a lot of things around the house because he'd just do nothing. And he'd also wanted me to sit down in front of the telly after dinner. I mean, when I wanted to work. And well, that's nothing, right? But for instance, if I didn't get what he wanted, when I went shopping, he'd scream at me and sometimes, would break things that were not his, the crockery or my things. He destroyed my rice cooker from, that kind of stuff. And he'd be breaking things and screaming and shouting at me. And yeah, I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but, because I was half reliant on him, although I had some money from the funding, but, he made me feel like I could be like destitute, So that was constant, he was just hypnotizing me into that. So it was a really sad situation because I gave up on my sort of independence when I fell ill, because he said he was going to look after me. That was the beginning of the end. By the end of that marriage, I couldn't recognize myself because I was quite bubbly and, I was like now, but I was very withdrawn, was scared of everything. I couldn't drive. I passed my driving license, driving test in 95 or something. But I I couldn't drive, especially going on the motorway was just, scary for me. Yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to kill me after he left because he went for someone else. And because he was abusive, and I thought he was going to come back and kill me for some reason, so I changed the locks. That's on the borderline. It's in the grey zone. If you feel like you're in danger, you can, but no one can advise you to do it. But I could, and I knew that I could do it, so I did. That just made him just become mental. So he was just waiting outside and everything from time to time. So I just, on one morning at 4:30, I just drove to Trent Park in North London with my dog. I was hiding because I thought he was going to kill me. I mean, it was just, it was pretty bad. I mean, I didn't want to sort of describe everything, but it made me scared. I was just crying the whole time. I mean, it was horrible because it say and does horrible things. And he knew exactly what to say, So that's...
But sorry, go on.
Yeah, go on.
I was going to ask, did anyone else knew about, did you tell anyone while this was happening?
The problems was because after I left, I left him for 6 months or so when he went crazy, and that was really in the early part of our marriage. And then I was going to stay away. I mean, the only reason he could contact me was the Royal Mail. I did this redirection, but they sent my forwarding address to my old address where he was. So I could actually sue the Royal Mail, because they made my life hell. I don't know, maybe I should have done it. I didn't do any of them. I should have done. So, he could just sort of start writing to me. And he could, he was like a poet, he could write. He wrote books, and these people are just so, I shouldn't trust them. I know now. They're liars. So he could write and he persuaded me. But anyway, because of that period, I mean, everyone was against me going, moving back with him properly, but I persuaded them. So I just made myself alone when he turned around and just became really even more horrendous. I couldn't say anything about him. And even worse, he knew what to do to promote himself. So he gave like a massive party to celebrate my birthday. And that was like 40th or something. And he went, he invited everybody. Then I paid for their flights and, accommodation and everything. So, then within a year or so, he left. And I couldn't explain myself. This nice man, I never really, I couldn't explain myself. That surprised me, this party, because that happened at the Lord's cricket ground. That's like a very space shuttle-like building. Do you know where they have...
No, but I imagine.
Yeah, so he hired that place and invited everybody, and that really surprised me. What does he want, And then I had to make a speech. And, I remember exactly what I said. Oh, maybe he did this to give me a heart attack, to kill me. I said it, I think he did this to give me a heart attack. That was like just really a genuine thing. But people probably thought I was joking, And so he'd do things like that to just, sort of mislead people. And he bored people. So I didn't have any friends. And it was only after he'd left, then I started talking to people in the local woods while I walked my dog. And then I was surprised to find a whole lot of women were going through similar. I mean, more physical. They'd say something like, really casually, oh, my husband tried to kill me, like really casually. Oh, really? He looks like a nice man. Like, everybody. Oh, my ex-partner just broke my nose. Oh, really?
Of course.
all these people having problems in there. I mean, they looked like, oh my gosh, they live in such a big place. No, that's not nice. So yeah, it was a funny thing, but I went through kind of similar. I mean, I didn't live in a massive place or anything. And after that, it was just amazing because I didn't really want to get divorced straight away because I had to sort out lots of things. And while I was doing it, my ex-husband was taking, I don't know how many women he had, maybe just one, I don't know. But, his itinerary looked like sort of corny luxury holiday brochure, Oh my God, that's so nice. I wish, I'd been there, Seychelles, Goa and all these places that I've never been to. And he was going to all these places. Then he tried to, tried to get back with me as well after that still. So if you want to get back with me, I'll dump this woman. Like I thought, what? Excuse me, what? That happened. I mean, my mind was just, it was so difficult. He really just made such a, he made me, I can't say he made me crazy, but dealing with him was very difficult because I just didn't know what was true. It was gaslighting me the whole time because, I lived in this sort of void because my ex was the only one. I couldn't talk to other people. I mean, I go out to the local woods and walk my dog and talk to other women. Oh, God, your husband is so nice. He's so, like, who's talking like that? Him, right? God, I wish I knew that man. Who is this man? They're telling me how nice my husband was, ex-husband was. So, yeah, I had to deal with that. Yeah, well, that's really nice. So by the end, I was going crazy. Then, yes, so that was a long story. Then I just wanted to be myself because I just didn't know what I wanted because I couldn't eat anything I wanted. My ex hated aubergine. And I'm really big on aubergine.
I love aubergine.
Yeah, so I couldn't eat aubergines. So I didn't know what I wanted. I didn't have any preferences anymore because I had to do everything that he wanted. All the things that he wanted to eat. And I couldn't do anything. I was like a slave. So yeah, that was hard. And I don't know how that happened, but it's so, because I'm not that stupid, now. I mean, I have like so many degrees. I mean, not too broad, not to boast about, but just because I thought that I wanted to be an academic. So that was another sort of mental,
But I also think that I personally think, and I might be again terribly wrong, but I think it's a whole different type of I guess intelligence or even experience. You wouldn't know stuff like this can happen. Like I don't think again it has nothing to do with one's level of like intellectual capabilities because
it's interesting because they talk about how we're like frogs being boiled from cold water. You put frogs in cold water, then you can boil them and they die. But that was almost, I didn't know what was going on because every day was survival. I just had to really make sure that food was perfect. I had to do all this stuff and, I couldn't say no to anything because, he was boxing. He was practicing boxing. And if I said anything, then he said, well, if you want to fight, like you're about 6 foot tall and look at me, I'm like a midget, right? I shouldn't say this, but, you can just, just killing a little toddler, you can do it.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
It was a threat enough, so I wouldn't really do anything. And then him breaking things, I couldn't do anything. I mean, he was an IT person. I'd always dreamt about destroying his computer. I just had a dream about that. Just take this shit. And his hard drive, all the stuff had been just, saved and everything, backed. That's what I wanted to do, but I couldn't because he would be just so horrible to me. So, it was really hard. I mean, he'd just get me to drive him everywhere when I had an appointment, I'd just make an appointment to do things and he'd make me drive and he'd be screaming and shouting in the passenger seat. And also I had to go and pick him up at Cockfosters because that was the inner terminus. He'd be drinking in somewhere like Piccadilly.
Oh, right, all right.
I had to do it at 3 a.m. My God, that was just, so I
Gosh.
don't know why I couldn't do anything. That's the
Yeah.
problem, sort of non-physical abuse because, it's all in your head. And I couldn't do anything. No one was putting a gun against my temple, but I just had to do them because I was so scared.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Again, there are many forms of it. I think for anyone who would believe that, the all sort of abuse, which again, I don't think it's, again, yeah. So basically, anyone who would believe that the only type of abuse is the one where it's like, again, like I said, a gun point to your head. That's a
Yeah.
very, silly thing to think about, because again, there are so many other ways, of doing, yeah, of being abusive, and it's not just that. And I think you were saying earlier about how, I think you mentioned something earlier where it's like, it's quite like hard to almost, be like, to empathize how difficult this was. But actually, I'd say I understand from everything that you're saying, because again, and also you like I said, you're in a bubble now where, you don't even, like I said, you don't even know, I don't know, like the rules are different, everything is different. You don't know there is a whole new, I don't know, standard for everything.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about like the fact that, you were saying earlier that when after you left and then you came back, and again you were like now in a bubble, because you weren't able to, talk, because it's kind of like, well, you had the opportunity to leave. Now it's kind of like you did it to yourself. But then also, when you're in this sort of like space where someone has this kind of power over you, my understanding would be that then it's almost as if what's right, or like what I guess the rules of life are, or human decency, they kind of change in your head, because again, you're only, it's almost like, those cones that they put on like horses to see like one, in one direction. So that's almost
Oh,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I could see everything because he was
yeah.
a lot of things to train me to consider myself as a second-class citizen. He'd get like a really, top of the range bicycle for himself, but I'd get like the cheap stainless, really heavy one. He'd get like aluminium, like a really fast one for £400. Mine was like £99. And he'd get like an iPod that was top of the range. Mine was like, it had to be like slightly less. He'd go and get like children's clothes in India because that's where he was going on business trip, and they'd give me like just handful of like jewelry, but I'm sure they were like just nothing. And so that was happening. I don't know whether he planned to do it, but he knew exactly what he was doing. So he trained me to just accept the terms and conditions. And it's a very hard thing because I'm still living with that kind of thing. The voices in my head. I tried to fight those things, but he trained me very well, and I'm just so angry with myself that I allowed that to happen.
But then obviously, like, now you're talking about like yeah, like now you said you're angry with yourself for allowing this to happen. But then, what's it been like, since, or like what? Because I know we were talking about, on the build up for this, about how, how do you look after yourself, how do you try to, work things out. One thing that I actually want to ask you before I go to that question is, you mentioned before that you started doing you did the meditation retreat, and it was like a combination of like CBT, CBT with meditation. But then, is it like, have you done any sort of like therapy beforehand, or have you, like how did your, I guess now, how did your like recovery journey start, and where you're at?
So I had quite a lot of therapy, mostly just talking therapy. And back in the day, you could have like psychodynamic therapy. So I'd just talk about myself. But it's very interesting, when everything was happening, that means when my divorce was going through, no one seemed to have picked up anything because CPTSD is very new. And also, sort of non-physical abuse wasn't really recognized before. So people really didn't seem to know what to do and what to offer me. So I just had just simple, psychodynamic therapy. So that made me look at myself as a victim. So I lived with that notion for a long time. Then CBT, that wouldn't work because I'm just looking at myself as a victim. And, not poor me, but I was just destroyed. So for a long time, I just did all sorts of crazy things, like just taking a shit job that I shouldn't have done. I was with someone really completely wrong, It's like I was just like picking up all the garbage, rubbish from everywhere. Like I couldn't, go for things that are good for me. I'd just, I'll just get this like off the sell by date crap. Okay. That was how I was living for a long time. So it's been, it's very difficult for anyone who's not prepared to spend too much money on therapy, because now it costs so much more. Before you could have like psychodynamic therapy on the NHS, but you are only given like how many sessions? That's not enough. And I think that's why I think that I have CPTSD. Not that, I have been diagnosed, but I've watched enough YouTube videos. I've done some courses offered by psychotherapists in the States back during the pandemic. And it's very close. It's similar to, what was it? CPTSD can be sort of mistaken for something else that I just don't remember even now. I think it's still not well understood. So I know there is only one person who works for the Maudsley Hospital in this country who does CPTSD. Maybe there are more. I'm on the wait list for something at the PTSD place, the trauma center. Sorry, I'm just going to cough. Sorry about this.
That's okay.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever had anything that were appropriate for my condition. It's only just myself, diagnosis and watching all the things on YouTube. And one of the people who does stuff to do with CPTSD, she talks about sort of meditation and journaling. So I thought, well, maybe I'd look into meditation, and that's why I started doing this thing. But it looks, this looks quite good. As a meditation goes, it's not recognized as like a great thing by, say, Buddhist people, because Buddhist people think, that. But it's such a good way because it's really like, as I said, it's like a cognitive behavioral therapy. It's CBT because it's about you having a kind of meta conversation with yourself, because we have these voices in our head and they're just saying things that we don't know, so that's why we feel bad. But you just have to stop. Okay, well, you're doing that again, and you're just letting this thought affecting your mood and everything. So I'm just constantly doing it still. So that's what this meditation thing does. You have to change this bad habit of being this sort of depressed self or someone with CPTSD, because I have to unlearn the pattern of thinking. So this is not just, doing meditation, but it's about becoming aware of what your brain's doing and recondition, reprogram the thought.
But then, sorry, go on. I was just going to ask you because one of the things I've been told in the past was that, because for example, the BPD, so like the personality disorder that I have, actually has apparently loads of people actually with CPTSD get like misdiagnosed with BPD or the other way around
Yeah.
sometimes. And obviously, I understand that there is anything to do with like mental health is it's a spectrum, So things again, a lot of things almost like fall in the same, like have similar traits, or I guess downsides, however you'd want to call it. But then I was quite like curious because or like I'm quite curious as well. Like now you were talking about how you're on a waiting list at the trauma clinic, but then is it like that? Is kind of for like a how do you call it? It's is that an appointment so that you can actually figure out into more details what it could be?
Yeah. I don't
Or
know. I mean, I'm just
right.
waiting because they haven't actually done anything. So I may not need it because I can see that it's such a long, term thing. It's an ongoing thing. And I have ups and downs. I mean, up until like September, I thought, oh God, this is really great. These meditations are working because there are lots
Mhm.
of meditations. And then I had this injury, head and neck.
Yeah.
And that really just brought me right back down to like, I was so afraid. I was thinking about the worst case scenarios. So it's not easy. So that's why I'm just focusing on, my recovery this year.
Mhm.
I have to work on this sort of financial security because I just let that go as well during the pandemic. I just thought, God, everything has stopped. I can stop now. Then almost, I haven't really done anything. It was so great. Oh, I really needed this because I just wanted just things to stop so that I could just
Yeah.
have a break. And that just lasted like 4 years. So last year, or not even last year, this year, I'm finally sort of doing things. So I have to really get things together. But, I'm still writing and I'm just hoping to do a show. And that's going to be a very different thing. But I'm not, just chasing anything because, once you start going back on the circuit, then it's like just nonstop. If you're not doing things and you
Yeah.
book, then you have to keep booking. And then I just am kind of doing easier things where
Mhm.
almost like all comics and musicians, and then you have some audience members. Then I'm trying my stuff out, and also I'm kind of very lucky that I have all these incidents that give me like not comedy gold, but I don't have to seek out for all the problems, and they come to me. Yeah, so I'm still writing them down. It's really funny, you know. I mean, it's not funny, but I thought my friend talking about going on a cruise was like it made me laugh. What are you talking about, you crazy bitch? So it's, yeah. So I think it's a very difficult thing. I another thing that affected the way I look at my conditions is the baby reindeer. Do you remember the Netflix?
Yes, 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 yes.
I just thought, I know it's such a great thing that it's picking up lots of awards and everything. I don't, claim to be doing anything that's good, but just, that made me really think because, we do that. We're using I think I was using comedy, and I'm not really just getting to grips with the real issues.
Yeah.
And because it's funny if you're not really together, you do some crazy stuff. Like you should have seen how I got together with my ex, not my husband, but
Yeah.
I'm just thinking like that is crazy, but it's funny. It's so funny. My logic was just like, what? So I really want to be sort of more together, but I still have funny things to talk about. So I want it to be different. So I'm, taking it a break is maybe, yes, what I should say.
But I also think that because I remember at one point talking with my partner about how sometimes I almost feel like I'm a magnet of like bad things and like bad people in bad situations and all this, and I'm like, oh, you're kind of like, I have to go through it, or like I have to accept it, and I have to almost like I have to chase all these bad things to get material. But then my partner was like, no, you don't have to. You like, again, if anything, it's almost like it's this like self-sabotaging to an extent, um again, to make material. But then what it was like, what about the good things around you? Like, what about the positives in life? Like how how you're going to look after yourself and other people around you? And that opened up this door in my head, I think like, yeah, over a year ago, where I was like, what, actually that's true. Like I at one point I got to almost be like, okay, you know what, some things. And still, I think since we had that conversation, a lot has happened to me personally, with like day job, with like financially, last year was very difficult and things like this. Again, still, like mentally and physically, I had a lot of physical like health problems last year, but it made me change my perspective on the regard of, like, I don't know, because sometimes I'd feel like I'd wake up some mornings almost looking for problems, while now I'm pretty much, oh, again, I'm being more accepting of the fact that, again, bad things happen, but I actually feel like, when something bad does happen, I'm actually looking for solutions. Although I get tired constantly. I feel like the last crisis I had was like last week, where I had a few days where I was just like, I was feeling numb, and I was like, hey, I don't feel like neither happy or unhappy. It just feels like I'm just tired. I'm kind of like at the bottom of my, like energy, basically. But, and again, it's something that you've said earlier, which is like, sometimes like things change because at one point you're like, hey, this meditation thing works wonders, is the best thing. That's it. I'm done. But then things fluctuate, which I'm very, like, again, I see it from like my personal perspective, or like my personal life, when things that I thought, because I remember like with meditation, actually, funnily enough, I was saying that I started meditating the 10-15 minutes a day thing last year in November or December, because another comedian from America, she told me about like the way she does it, and I thought, oh, you know what, let me try. And for a while it's worked until it didn't. And then I was like, I think that's it. It's not working for me. But now I still like try. And then sometimes I also acknowledge in some days that, I can't do it, or like I don't want to do it. But then I still try the next day. Like, today, this morning, I woke up and I did it. But then I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. No, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to try again the day after, sort of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think, meditation's always, I think meditations help. I say to people, just meditate, because it's a little like CBT, because we focus on the negative, more than the positive. Although there are fewer positive things. I mean, from that point of view, I'm really glad that I dealt with all these problems the way that I did. I mean, I don't think I was affected by the gas supply cut, or the boiler breaking down. I mean, they were horrendous, but I was okay. I was warm enough. I was fine. So I don't react as much to things. I don't really go, ape shit. Yeah, I think it's not. I'm glad that I'm doing this, and I can't claim that I'm like together or anything.
I think, don't,
It's a long term thing, because I have all these, just my ex would just make me feel like something horrible would happen, and something horrible would happen. That was just conditioned. I'm conditioned to believe the things would go just, not just pear-shaped, it would just go so wrong and terribly wrong, because I've not recovered from like when my ex was picked up by the police, and just that phone call. I still remember just police officers knocking on the door at 2 or 3 in the morning. And then I had a phone call just prior to that, and I still remember that I didn't deal with those things, and I just buried them and stayed with my ex. And that's, why. I have to deal with all these things. But anyway, Yeah. So is that about time?
Yeah, well, I feel like there are still a lot of things I want to ask you, like a lot of things I want to talk about. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, for now, I was going. There was only one other thing that I wanted to ask or like say to you. Let me get it back in my head because I actually got like so surprised about what you said just now, and I was like, "Whoa!" Oh yeah, I was gonna say that when you were talking about like this like feeling of like anxiety and the sensation, oh, something bad is gonna happen, and then when something bad does happen, you're like, "Hey, I was right all along to have this thought because look, it's here." And it was something that I struggle with a lot, and I had my therapist point at me where I think she said something like we're always looking, like not always, but like in habit, or like naturally we are looking for evidence to say that we are right. We naturally. So I think this was another thing about, this is the way she explained to me about like my anxiety, because I always be like, hey, I don't think I have anxiety, because like although I assume that bad things will happen, bad things do happen. So then how is that anxiety? That's just kind of like being preemptive. But then yeah, she had this theory about which again it changed my perspective quite a lot, where he was like, yeah, but that's because you're looking for the answers to you want to say, I don't know, if you believe that the color of the sky is green, you will look for evidence to prove that the color of the sky is green, and you will
Well,
ignore
yeah.
everything else just because you want to be correct.
Yeah. It's like self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
But yeah, I mean, with me, luckily, I mean, things haven't turned out to be as bad. I mean, the boiler breaking down, I mean, I knew that it was going to break down, then I just realized that it was my naivety that I trusted these engineers, and now I don't trust them. I mean, I think they're not to be trusted. And yeah, well, I mean, I'm finding out a lot more about these things. I'm just not going to let this go. I'm doing investigation. That's why I had to speak to this nice lady on Friday,
Yeah.
because there are loopholes, in this system. So don't worry. But even then, I'm okay, and things haven't been that bad. And I think the injuries back in September made me realize, because I'm okay. I nearly, had a road accident where I could have died. I hit my head. I didn't hit my head. Some trolley came and hit my head on a flight to Canada. That happened. And, you know, just loads have happened, but I'm still here. And I nearly died as a child because we had carbon monoxide poisoning. So I'm on borrowed time. So, if you just look at life from that kind of perspective, I'm lucky to be alive. So someone wants to keep me here. So I'll carry on. I mean, one of the differences between CPTSD and all these personality disorder type things, I read somewhere that it's the kind of suicidal thoughts. So
Mm.
yeah, I have some stuff, it's so unfortunate that I have to go, but I've been not recently, but I talked to the Samaritans a lot, and yeah, they asked, they used to ask this question: do you have this thought? That means that do you feel like killing yourself,
Mm.
And it's never hit me. I just wonder, why do I want to cling on to this? Because sometimes it's not.
Oh God.
Would it
Yeah.
be not easier that I'm going to parents and my dogs and everything that I loved? And why am I just trying to struggle? But, that's the difference between personality disorder and CPTSD. That's what,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you know what? Then how about this? We're gonna wrap it up for now, and then we'll talk about to like get a time in to continue the conversation. But thank you so much for doing this, Nobby.
You?
And yeah, I'll get your socials, and or like I'll ask you for the links to put on the bio of the episode. But again, I'm looking forward to actually continue this in very near future.
Yeah. Yes. That's
Perfect. We'll
no,
talk soon then.
anytime soon. So come back to me.
We'll talk then. Okay. Bye for now.
Right, bye.
So, was it good? Was it what you hoped for? I think it was pretty good. Um, you get what I meant, about the, being heavy. Well, look, um, definitely enjoyed recording this with Nobby. We are trying to work out sometimes to um, basically, yeah, get the on the same page, or like have the same or a similar schedule. Anyway, we are working out to delve on this, like the topics of the conversation more, and yeah, we're just looking for the times for that. Now, again, you've listened to me quite a bit at the beginning. I'm going to keep this very nice and short. um, Nobby's social media is going to be in the bio of the episode. And then, yeah, busy week for me. Got a couple, quite a few gigs happening. If you want to see what's where the places are, obviously everything is for the time being in and around London. But yeah, if you want to see where that is, and if you are from this area, want to come down, check out my own page. And you know the drill by now. From me, Sarma and Pickle, goodbye and stay skillful. Until next week.